As the state's leading property and casualty insurance trade association, the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance plays a crucial role in safeguarding Wisconsinites. Alliance members provide vital insurance coverage, ensuring financial protection for individuals, businesses, and communities across the state. In times of need, they act as a reliable resource, helping residents recover from unforeseen events. Ultimately, the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance and its members contribute to the resilience and well-being of Wisconsin families and businesses by offering essential protection and support. WisI video of the WisPolitics Madison Luncheon series at the Madison Club is made possible with sponsorship support from the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance.
Okay, everybody. Hi, welcome to the WisPolitics Luncheon of June 20th, 2024. The solstice is upon us. So,
summer solstice.
The summer solstice is upon us. Thank you. I need to be fact-checked whenever possible. Okay, so anyway, I'm Jeff Maris from WisPolitics. Thank you for coming to this event. Some announcements first before we get to the program. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors because without them, this series of events would not happen. So Hush Blackwell Strategies, they've been with us from the beginning under different names, but thank you very much. American Family Insurance, Excel Energy, Walmart, ARP Wisconsin, and Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. We do not have events at the Madison Club in July because of this its convention time in Milwaukee. In case you want to go to a couple of Milwaukee events that we have coming up, June 26th, that's Wednesday, we have an event at near Fiserv Forum at Spectrum News. It's a panel discussion on the RNC and how it's setting the stage for the big year to come in Wisconsin elections. Then on July 16th, that's RNC week, we're going to have an event at Marquette University Law School. Governor Scott Walker will be giving some remarks. Then we'll have a panel discussion led by Katie Kingsbury, the New York Times opinion editor. Charles Franklin's on the panel, Tanya Bjork's on the panel, and Keith Jokes is on the panel. So that's on July 16th. We haven't announced that yet, but they're, if you want to buy a table, see Colin Schmees. Colin, where are you? Yeah, Colin's in the back over there. He can tell you about buying a table for that event, and there will be some individual tickets. There's some individual tickets left for June 26th as well. And then in August, we'll have U.S. Senate candidate Eric Hovde will be here on August 14th. That's the day after he wins the Republican primary. So that's a little joke because he doesn't have much competition. Okay. It's a little joke, apparently, because nobody's laughing. All right. Now I want to introduce you our special guest today, Summer Strand. She's the chair of the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. Please welcome Summer.
Thank you.
Summer, I warn you that the crowd capacity today is rivaling that of the governor, so you may get some feedback on that. So,
Got a lot of fans, Jeff.
I guess you do.
I meant you.
Oh, no. You have the fan club. I am aware of that. Okay, so now this is, I'm required to read this very important announcement. Please pay attention. We have a sitting Public Service Commissioner with us today, and one in the audience. During this event, we can't discuss the merits of any particular case that is or will be before the Commission. If the conversation begins to go in that direction or questions are asked, we will have to change topics. So that concludes our luncheon for today.
You need a no button. Can't talk about that.
Right. Or the ejection button. I ask a question and boop. Way to go.
James Bond. Yeah.
All right. So we'll just be talking about the weather. All right. Let's just talk about a little bit about you first. Okay. So I view your path to the commission as a little untraditional. Maybe you have a different view. You are an attorney. Many of the PSC commissioners have been attorneys. But you don't really come directly like from the energy sector, more like the construction sector. So but I was thinking about, well, of course, building power plants, that's construction. So I'm wondering whether, how your construction background informs you in what you do. Is that question okay, or is the legal counsel going to give you the hook?
We can talk about that all day.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
good.
Great question. So I am a lawyer, and I thank goodness for that every day. Given the depth and the breadth of the PSC's oversight and the information that comes before us, I'm really thankful for that legal education, because it does require a lot of in-depth analysis. In terms of your untraditional path, so I did start my career in the state Senate, and I clerked the Energy and Utilities Committee there for a couple years. And I think for most of the people in this room who've known me since then, I think we all thought that would be my direct career path, maybe not necessarily to where I am right now. So yes, I did take a couple, I will call them utility adjacent detours into the construction industry, first in the public sector side at the Department of Administration, and then most recently on the private sector side, working for a Wisconsin-based family-owned business that primarily builds roads and bridges in the upper Midwest. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but a lot of what the commission is doing right now is construction-based. So we have authority over siting. We issue what are called CPCNs, or convenience of public necessity and convenience, certificates of public convenience and necessity, basically construction permits. So there is a lot of construction work that's coming through the commission. And so my construction background has helped significantly in that oversight. And I'm not going to speak for the governor, but I think that was probably part of the reason why he appointed me to this position. I think it's important to have unique and broad perspectives on things. I think, right, wrong, or indifferent, former commissioners have taken heat for coming directly from the industry to the commission. So I don't think it's bad to have an untraditional path or an adjacent path, because it has really informed my position. Obviously, the government and political background helps a lot, because so much of what we do intersects with the three branches of government and is based on, kind of reading the room and understanding what the dynamics are in the state. And all of my experiences have helped kind of qualify me and prepare me for that. So it's a lot. It's a steep learning curve, but I feel like everything that I've done to get to this point has really served me well in the position over the last year.
So the PSC has wide authority over, I think, a lot of things that don't happen in other states, and from water, to telecom, to power. So I mean, I'm wondering, did something surprise you? You didn't come from PSC staff either, so did something surprise you when you went to PSC? Like, whoa, wow, we're doing that too?
That's a great question. I mean, you said it. I think one of the things that surprised me the most was just the depth and the breadth of the PSC's oversight and regulatory authority. The first couple meetings, I was like, wait, they have to ask us to do that, and then we have to tell them if they can or can't. So that was definitely just kind of an in-the-weeds situation that I didn't know until I got there. I think in general, too, I used to joke that in the legislature, you need to know a little bit about a lot. In the executive branch, you need to know a lot about your specific issue or policy. And then at the PSC, you need to know everything about everything. So, like I said, it is a steep learning curve, but I think the existing framework that we have works. I think our process works really well. We base our decisions on all the information contained in the record before us, and we have a really robust public participation and engagement process to help inform those decisions.
So you're new to the commission. There's a lot of change that has taken place at the commission. I think you've talked in a previous program that I was involved in with Jim Wood and Competitive Wisconsin about the changes at the PSC. A lot of changes. Why don't you go through a little bit about what's been going on there?
Sure. So as most people are probably aware, we have had a complete turnover in commissioners since I came on in March of 2023. Former Commissioner Huebner was rejected by the Senate, and former Chair Vaughn, my predecessor Becky Vaughn, resigned from her chairpersonship and her commission appointment about a year before her term expired. So that means that I am here as the most senior member of the commission and the chair, and then we have 2 new commissioners, Christy Nieto and Marcus Hawkins. Since you gave me the opportunity, we'll just talk about that specifically. I am so excited to be back at full strength. I did enjoy my very brief period of dictatorship of the PSC, but as a hockey mom, full strength is definitely where it's at. I think Christy and Marcus, I'm so thrilled and fortunate to get to work with them. I think, just for those that don't know Christy has very deep cross-divisional experience within the PSC. She came from the PSC. She's worked there for almost a decade. She's ran the 2 divisions that I love them all equally, but that the most important work that the PSD does and the most in-depth technical work that the PSD does happens in the 2 divisions that Christy ran. And I can't think of a better person for that position, and I'm so glad that the governor asked her and that she said yes. And then Commissioner Hawkins has also former PSC staff, engineer by trade. I don't think he would be mad if I said that he is a self-admitted energy nerd. He's super passionate and super knowledgeable. He came most recently from the organization of MISO states, where he represented the states within the MISO footprint before MISO as stakeholders, and also FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So lots of knowledge, deep knowledge there as well. I think we all have different backgrounds and perspectives, back to your point about where you come from and how you get there, which thus far has led to some really interesting discussions and consensus building on the fly in our open meetings, since we're restricted from talking about anything substantive that's before the commission outside of the open meetings.
Do we have to read a statement on that too?
I mean, it's included in what you said, but I'll make sure not to say anything that Christy can't hear.
Every 5 minutes I should read that statement.
Yes, you should. Friendly reminder. No, that's why you need the no button. Yeah, no. So I applaud the governor for making these appointments, and I really applaud Christine Marcus for stepping up into them. I think it takes guts, especially right now, to take a political appointment and to put yourself out there and to take some tough votes on really important issues throughout the state. And I just met with some other commissioners from other Midwestern states, and I think, it's a vibe. People are super excited about the new slate and everything that we're working on and how we work together and our different backgrounds. And so I think it's a really exciting time at the commission with the changes. I view change as opportunity.
Okay, but I think you mentioned in that program I was involved in that there are staff shortages, and you were concerned about staffing levels. Are you still concerned about that? Is that an issue, a challenge that you and the other commissioners have to deal with?
Yes, definitely. So again, without getting ahead of ourselves, we are seeing a huge uptick for a number of factors that I'm sure we'll talk about in not only filings, but especially filings at the commission that require a lot of technical analysis and review related to generation construction and transmission construction. And that's not just limited to a specific group within the PSC or staff. It touches almost everything that we do, whether it's environmental review, accounting, project management, obviously engineering and technical review. And we are small but mighty. Our staff is very professional and very dedicated, but the workload is staggeringly significant. And so I do worry about burnout more than anything else. I think, most industries and state agencies are struggling with retention. And so I'm worried that these heavy workloads might lead to burnout.
Well, yes, you also have highly technical people
Yes.
that could be pursued by the private sector.
I was just going to say, sometimes we are a training ground for those that we regulate, as much as we don't like it. We can't pay as well as they can. So yes, I'm still concerned about workload. Breaking news, we're working with our stakeholders to figure out what we can do about this. We may ask for more positions, which I think we can make a really strong case for. But yes, workload and staff, just capacity and numbers is definitely a concern of mine.
Okay, so this sets the stage for the headline of this program, that the energy transition that's galloping ahead. I mean, it's moving, I think, much faster than anybody anticipated, and it's moving. It was moving fast, not necessarily because of federal legislation. It was already moving because renewable pricing came down so fast. So I'm just wondering how you're grappling with that, because and this is coming at a time of high demand or increasing, spiking demand. We have a huge data centers that are coming into the Foxconn site, going to be a Microsoft site now. How do you balance all those things? Because and then keep the prices affordable. So I mean, it's like, I mean, what is this? Is there a strategy that you employ, or is it like check the boxes strategy? Or I mean, how are you grappling with this complicated situation?
That's a good question. It feels like it's all happening at once, which obviously adds to challenges and complications. For background, we are in the midst of it, like you said. It's not starting, it's not ending. We're kind of right in the middle. I think you kind of said this as well, but it's important to note that a lot of the transition is, while it is rapid, it's a long game. I think we need to make strategic and measured and balanced decisions throughout that, not just like reactive knee-jerk decisions. I think it's also important to note that there are a lot of forces at play here, whether it's market forces, shareholders, customers, resource optimization, costs, those kinds of things. Those are driving the decisions that are being made at the utilities. The state is not mandating, the PSC is not mandating this transition to happen or how it's going to happen. We react to the filings that are made on these individual pieces of this transition. I think we've also made some good progress on it so far. I mean, if we want to talk about renewable construction, there's so many parts and pieces, so I'm going to try to... Stop me if you want to me to hit specific things. But
I mean, even though we have an hour, I mean, time is limited. I mean, we can't but I mean, if you have some stats that put it in perspective, I think that we've gone from what % of renewables to now maybe, and coal went from up here to down here, and so
yes. So on that front, the most updated figures will be available in the new state energy assessment, which is done every 2 years by the PSC, which we're taking up in a couple weeks, so I can't talk too much about it, but please read the SEA. It's one of the most important documents that the PSC puts together, and it really does provide a ton of information, including what Jeff said. In terms of numbers, let's see. We do have a goal in the state of being carbon-free by 2050, and so we're working towards that with all of our partners and stakeholders. Let's see. Facts and figures just quickly. So since 2019, the Commission has approved more than 4,000 megawatts of new solar generation construction in the state. And since I joined it, that number's been about 1,200. Also, we're seeing a trend of coupling solar generation and solar panels with battery storage because of the intermittency of the resource, making sure that when it is generating that we can store that extra power and then dispatch it when it's
today.
Needed. Exactly.
We have a long,
cloudy,
a long day.
Turn that battery on. Let's go. Yes.
I mean, so that goes with the adding of the solar is the adding of the storage. We
are encouraging our partners that if they are going to pursue these two resources together to try to bring them to us so we can review them in a robust kind of holistic approach. But yes, I would say the current trend, not just here but nationwide, is coupling those two technologies together. So on the battery energy storage front, we have approved 5 projects recently, totaling 440 megawatts, which powers approximately 83,600 homes. So progress being made there too. I think we don't need to dive super deeply into it right now, but there have been historic federal investments made on this front through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act that has created a host of new programs to help us meet these goals. And so we're starting to administer and award those.
Yeah, you're administering many of these energy-related programs through PSC, which is another staff burden, I guess.
But we're happy to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, we have tens of millions of dollars coming through.
Billions.
Just to Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay, how many billions just coming to Wisconsin?
So we're getting just north of $1 billion on broadband, so BEAD, broadband equity, access, and deployment, which I'm sure we can talk about. And then, let's see, I think we're overseeing, I can look in here to make sure I'm telling you guys the right number. I think we have over 9 new federal programs that we're overseeing, totaling at least $200 million, I think. So we have a grid resilience program. We have homes and HERE grants for homeowners who want to make weatherization improvements or buy electric appliances to help bring down their energy burden and make their their bills lower and their homes more efficient. Those are grant programs that we are administering on behalf of the federal government. We have refueling readiness programs. What else have we done?
So this kind of even broadens the charge of the PSC even more, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to though delve into this. Here's this transition period. You can't go flip the switch and eliminate coal and go all renewables, right? So you have the bridge, the natural gas bridge, and which a lot of people say, well, that's a fossil fuel. How's that helping matters? What I mean, in general, can you speak to the natural gas as a bridge, because there's infrastructure involved in that,
right?
Okay.
Yep. Construction, yes. Okay, so I will keep it high level. I have to be careful on gas. We do have current filings, pending filings, and ongoing litigation as it relates to gas for some of the reasons that you mentioned. In general, I'm on the record and consistently say this, so I'll say it again for everyone in the room. I support an all-of-the-above approach to generation resources in Wisconsin. It's what we have now. It's what we'll likely have in the foreseeable future. Like you said, you can't flip a switch and get rid of one source overnight. It would be very irresponsible for us to put all of our eggs in one basket. And natural gas is part of that existing mix right now and will continue to be. So as of 2022, again, this is from the State Energy Assessment, approximately 37% of our total generation capacity in Wisconsin comes from natural gas. So it's here and it's going to stay here. To your point about a bridge fuel, I think in general the perceived benefits of gas are that it's quickly and easily dispatchable and it's uninterruptible, which makes it a really attractive component in the current emphasis on reliability and resource adequacy, which are some of those factors that we are trying to balance.
It's also cleaner than coal.
It burns cleaner than coal. It has a lower emissions footprint. Like you said, it's still a fossil fuel. It's still the natural gas is more abundant, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be here forever. We have a limited, finite amount. It is subject to price volatility, especially in the geopolitical climate that we live in right now, which we saw with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So there are definitely pros and cons to it. But again, it's here. It's going to be here. You know, we can't pick and choose all the time between our favorites and our least favorites.
Okay, so. But you know, if you have this goal of
carbon-free by
2050, that means that fossil fuels have to be off the table by 2050.
That's a goal.
Right. So, okay, so what about then, it seems like you need another bridge fuel or power source in there, like nuclear. You know, nuclear has made some advance. It's not 3 Mile Island anymore, right? So, I mean, there's smaller plants that they can, you know, there's new technology. What kind of future does the nuclear have?
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up, Jeff. So again, nuclear is part of the portfolio in Wisconsin. So it's smaller than the natural gas percentage, but we have nuclear here. It's part of that mix. It is carbon free. So there are some pros to that. And then, like you said, you know, old nuclear, I think it's very expensive. It takes a long time to build. And I think there are some negative associations to it, like as you alluded to. New nuclear, there's a lot of innovation.
I'm probably going to get crap from people that I said 3 Mile Island. At least I didn't say Chernobyl.
Right. We should have like a little list of things not to say. The no button. Ejection, yes. So there is a lot of really exciting innovation, research and development happening on the nuclear front. I think if I had it my way, it would be happening faster and be more readily deployable now, because I do think it's going to provide a lot small modular nuclear reactors. Some of the European countries are making progress on this. I know we talked maybe news of the day. So the U.S. Senate passed a bill yesterday, 88-2, that included the text of the nuclear advance bill, which has been worked on bipartisan compromise in Congress for over a year, that is going to include acceleration of some of these technologies and the deployment money.
We have some of that going on in Wisconsin, don't we? I mean, isn't it Dairyland Power that was in on this, or maybe I might be misstating the. Sorry, utilities, if I got that wrong.
I saw Lucas. No. So I mean, let's talk about it for a second. A lot of our utility partners in the state are helping advance innovation and technology. They're applying for U.S. DOE federal grants like hydrogen hub, carbon capture, the energy dome. I know MG&E was talking about maybe doing some nuclear dome, carbon, hydrogen, new technology fronts last time we talked.
We'll have to do a program on nuclear. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'll tell you who you can invite, but I can't say it out loud.
No, you can't. You can't. That violates the edict that we have here. So I feel like somebody's like looming over my shoulder about, no one asked that question now. All right. So what about broadband? Let's move to broadband. Okay. So in my mind, this is like rural electrification, right? You know, getting to the last mile, to the last house, the farm road, the lonely farm road. You go to the end and they finally have power. So now we're trying to get everybody broadband. It seems excruciatingly slow, and that there is like no shortage of money, however. I mean, $1 billion from the feds. I don't know how much money. I can't remember how much money from the state over time. I mean,
about $200 million
Okay.
since 2019. $200 million since 2019. The state broadband program has been in place since 2014.
Okay, so
significant investments from the state as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of money.
No.
What is the holdup?
Great question. So just very quickly, I think this is another interesting or unique aspect of the Wisconsin Commission. So we don't regulate telecommunications and broadband, but we do have a role in ensuring equitable access to telecommunications and broadband services. So that is another one of those unique parts of the purview. I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it was that high-speed access or high-speed broadband internet access, all those things, it's not a luxury anymore. It's an essential.
All right, kids shouldn't have to go in the bus to McDonald's to do their homework.
School,
right?
work, healthcare, social interaction, connecting with our families. I mean, in order to participate in modern society, we need high-speed access. Wisconsin does have some interesting challenges as it relates to rural nature. So your rural electrification example is a great one. The topography sometimes is not great, and the heavily forested areas sometimes doesn't make all the technologies available the best fits for some parts of the state. So we're lucky at the PSC to have a really dedicated broadband office that is passionate about bringing internet to all in our state. You asked about the holdups. So we are undergoing a back and forth with our federal partners at the NTIA regarding when we can get this money going.
What's NTIA?
The National Telecommunications and Information. It's not agency, it's like administration. So it's kind of, I think, related to FCC. But so they're overseeing BEAD. So as you can imagine, a really important aspect of all of this is having an accurate universe of locations that need to be built out. So there are definitions of unserved and underserved locations, and there has been an ongoing process of identifying and then challenging these locations to ensure speed tests, all kinds of things to ensure that we know what the universe is and where they are, which is part of what we're undergoing right now. Still go back and forth. I think we just received 16,000 challenges to our Volume 1 locations. I'll cut to the chase quick. I'll try to cut to the chase. We are hoping to start making the grant money available for the build out in early 2025. I think it's important. A couple things.
Is this the federal money?
Federal money, early 2025. A couple things I want to say about that. I think it's important that we have really strong fiscal controls and accountability and transparency for a number of reasons. So we're trying to, time needs to be taken to make sure that it's being administered appropriately and within those guidelines. I think we also need to make sure that there's like close collaboration and discussion happening if and when these things are ready to be built out, because underground construction, which is a lot of this would be fiber in the ground, again, putting my construction hat back on, there are challenges to that, whether it's workforce, available technology, and procuring of and sourcing the equipment. It's making sure that you know what's under there and where you're digging. So that's going to take some time. Overall, I want to make sure that we are managing expectations as well. It doesn't mean the money is going to flow in 2025 and everyone's going to be online in 2026. My conservative estimate would be that we would be close to serving every underserved and unserved location in the state by 2030, but that is a very conservative estimate, or don't hold me to that, but that's the goal. It's the hope. 2030, which is your point, a long
Well,
time.
you're welcome back in 2030.
Do you want me to come back in 2030 to get skewered about that?
Okay, June. Do you have your calendar here?
Well,
so June of 2030.
My term expires in March of
all
2029.
right.
So.
Well, then you can come back and tell us the truth and answer all questions.
I mean, maybe whoever's here, I'll be like, hey, I was at this cabin last weekend and there was no broadband there.
So, well, okay, maybe the expectations are too high too. I mean, it just seems 2030. We've been talking about broadband in the state, honestly. I mean, for a decade. I mean,
the broadband office was created in 2009. So
yeah, well,
longer.
there you go. It's just like, is it because our hopes were artificially raised, or is it just because it took longer than expected, or do you have any insight on that? It just seems, as I said, it seems excruciatingly slow.
So I think a couple things. I think I tried to answer the question about why it has taken so long or what the challenges are. I think also a lot of these unserved or underserved locations, it's because they are I'm not throwing the ISPs under the bus here, but they are the hardest to reach and the most expensive to build out. There isn't a lot of bang for the buck if you have to go 6 miles down a gravel road to reach one house.
But isn't that where subsidies take care of
the... Yes, but again, I think given the $200 million plus the 410,000 homes and businesses that have been newly served since 2019, I think we still are kind of we're churning through the low-hanging fruit, and it's these really hard to reach remote locations that are left. And it's, I mean, again, ballpark, 300,000-ish. It is, again, like topography, rural. We need to make sure we have people that can build these things up there. I mean, how people go, I'm sure a lot of you are going to cabins up north this summer. You let me know how the broadband is up there.
Right, so you could have the cabin hotline. All right.
Yeah. Just badger the FCC, put it into the PSC website, has all the information you need to report. But yeah, so yes, managing expectations is important though, like I said.
So anyway, around 2030.
Give or take.
Okay. All right. Let's open it up for questions from the audience, and then maybe I'll close with one I've been saving here. Okay, everybody's raising their hand. All right. Jim, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, UW-Madison, for that. Yeah.
So what's your question?
It was a comment.
I'm badgering Jim.
Go,
I'm badgering
go.
Jim because I know him. What's your question,
Pedal to the
Jim?
metal. So,
okay, so the question is about why aren't we going full bore on fiber?
Fiber is the preferred technology. I believe it's probably the only technology that will be deployed through BEAD, which is another reason why it's important that we have a strong state program for those locations that can't get fiber. Fixed wireless, copper, Starlink are options. They're not the preferred options. This is the federal money part. I think we need to make sure that it is what we are told is being built is actually being built, and that takes time. But it also protects taxpayer money, federal coffers, all of those things. I mean, I oversaw the non-state grant program when I was the secretary of the building commission, and the state process, you only get reimbursed for paid invoices. So you're not saying one thing and then building something else with the money. You are doing what we told you, what you said you were going to do. If that's what you built, then you get reimbursed. And if that's not what you built, we have an ownership interest in that portion and can claw it back. So I think that accountability and transparency does need to be built into this process. You can't just now if it was private investment, of which there are matching it's not your money. So they're doing what they're doing with it. But if it's state administered and state dollars or federal dollars, we got to make sure we're doing it right. We got to make sure what is said is being built is actually being built. So
pun intended.
I had it for like a month. No, I'm kidding. Thank you, Kristen. That's a great question. I think I was going to shamelessly plug it anyway, too. Like podcast recommendation, The Electric Wire. Kristen and CFC are doing an amazing job, and that podcast is such a source of information. I mean, when I got the call that I was, getting appointed to the commission, I'm like, oh, I better start listening to this podcast so I know what we're doing. It's a good question. I think, let's see. Okay. So we talked about this, but two wishes that I would grant if I had all the power. First, I would pay the PSC staff more money. It is a training ground for the people that we regulate, and we lose them for money reasons a lot. B, I tell them every single day how much I appreciate their hard work, understanding what the load is, the workload, their professionalism, their solution-oriented thinking in nature. It's amazing. And this is from someone coming from a different state agency where maybe at the PSC it's a different mentality. But money talks. And I can tell them till I'm blue in the face how much I appreciate them. But even just like the DMCs and DARAs that we have available to us make such a difference for them. And that's like, sometimes it's like $100 extra on the paycheck after taxes, So I wish that there was a way to compensate them based on what they're actually doing that takes into consideration the importance of it. I mean, I understand why the state system is the way that it is, but I think they go above and beyond every day. On the public front, I'm really passionate about energy literacy. And, I know former Representative Fields and some other people had like a financial literacy bill that got put into law a few sessions ago. I love energy literacy. I think the more that people are aware, starting young, of the decisions that customers can make, whether it's smart thermostats, smart metering, energy usage, energy efficiency opportunities, all those things, I think giving the public autonomy and information about what they can control and why it's important and connecting those dots for them could really help all of the things that we're all doing in this industry. So energy literacy program creation, and more money for the PSC staff. We'll leave it at that for now. I have some other wishes, but Jeff might get ejected if I say some of these words. Great question. Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Jeff. So, lots of companies, including Microsoft, that are already making the shift to 100% renewable energy. And in some cases, they're actually making the backup battery power systems available against the grid. Mm-hmm. In addition, you've got this national deployment of battery storage systems, even in fossil fuel states like Alaska. Mm-hmm. You're using it to replace the natural gas to address costs and meet demand. So should we be thinking about aligning our energy portfolio more with the clean energy goals that we've identified, and taking a more holistic approach to growing states' green economy?
Yep. So we have definitely taken a holistic approach. I appreciate the question because I want to make sure that we're not losing the forest through the trees here. So the clean energy transition is also doing some really important things. It is creating jobs and economic development and domestic and reshoring manufacturing opportunities that have not existed in this country for years. It is creating better environmental outputs and quality of life. It is it's providing so many more resources than were available initially. There's so many ancillary benefits that I think we're all just like starting to see and starting to have. Holistic approach, we are absolutely pursuing battery storage in the state. Like I said, we're coupling it with intermittent resources. I think this is another area where the technology and the innovation is happening so rapidly, to Jeff's point, that we need to be careful about obsolescence. because I think the window of time of opportunity in terms of like how long these storage systems, like, you know, is it X amount of hours? I think that's going to double. I think the battery components, which sometimes can be challenging in terms of procurement, I think those are going to continue to change and evolve fairly quickly. So again, it's that balance. It's timing, it's affordability, it's not overbuilding and overbuilding, then overburdening the customer costs of that. Really making sure that we have what we need in terms of resource adequacy, but, you know, not too much, not too little, kind of that sweet spot, which is like part of the everyday challenge that we and other utility commissioners throughout the country are grappling with. But yes, battery energy storage is a very important component, and I think you're going to see it continue to grow in Wisconsin.
So this is
No
not
button.
this is not a planted question.
But my question is actually pretty simple. You touched a little bit on your background. I'm kind of interested, it's not even been a year and a half, right? When commissioner to chair, I know the learning curve had to be steep. What do you think was most beneficial when you look at your history of building, manufacturing section, attorney? Where do you think, what do you think let you, what do you think the best value of that background was?
Yeah.
Versus, you know, what it was like, oh, chairing being the clerk of the Energy Utility Committee.
Right. That's a good question. It's hard to rank them in priority order. So I'll start with my most recent experience, which is the private sector experience. So first, I got to work hand in hand with hardworking people who are doing really tough jobs every day. I think the construction industry in Wisconsin, vertical and horizontal, is so strong. We have family-owned companies who have been here for generations, who have invested so much in our communities and in our workforce. I applaud our utilities for partnering with our trade unions and pledging to use those partners on utility scale projects, utility scale generation projects. So I'm really thankful for that firsthand kind of like grit, dirt experience in the private sector, because I do think those are a lot of the people that are going to be continuing to build our infrastructure nationwide, whether it's broadband, generation, roads and bridges, obviously. I also think being at the private sector, because it was 7 years of my career, which has been mostly public other than that, really helped me see like how government decisions have real world impacts on privately owned companies that maybe aren't top of the mind when those decisions are being made. And so understanding that there are, you know, something that sounds good policy-wise may not necessarily work for these businesses. And so really trying to have, it gave me a much more like rounded, balanced, pragmatic approach to what we're doing and like think about how this is actually going to affect these people, whether it's a customer or an end user. And then, I mean, we talked about history. Thank you for mentioning that. I'm a constitutional nerd, and I love how the PSC really is the intersection of those three branches of government, whether, you know, legislative confirmation, and we work within the framework of the rules and the statutes that the legislature makes, appointed by the governor, gets sued every day in the judicial branch for our decisions, love it or hate it. And then also like working in bipartisan positions, and the political side is super helpful. I mean, if you look at the Evers cabinet, and this is not a knock, I think it's great, you know, there are only a couple of us who have political backgrounds, but it helps a lot. And the law degree, like I said, you're a lawyer, you know. This is not easy stuff. So all of it, I think, has helped. Did you ever, Matt Pagel, Creighton University Law School grad? Look it up. It's a thing.
He's been trying to run away from that for years. But.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for your question, Barbara, and thank you for distinguishing the current commission from the former commission. A lot of our pending litigation is former commission, and then we get roped into it. But you bring up some really good points about siting and merchant development in our state. First, what can you do? We have a very robust, and we're hoping to continue to expand it, public engagement and participation process for all of the things that we do, but especially for these decisions. So I would encourage you to subscribe to these dockets, follow along. There are numerous public comment and appearance opportunities, including anything that you submit as a public comment or as testimony gets put into the record. And then as commissioners, those are the things that we are allowed to read and reflect on and analyze to base our decisions on. So my first advice would be get it in the record. Secondly, I like your comment about can we move this 100 feet back? So without getting into specific details, for me personally, when there are public comments, that instead of just saying, don't build this at all, this is horrible, we don't like this, go away, it's, hey, consider that this setback should be changed for these safety reasons, or please understand that the vegetation management plan is actually doing this and we would prefer that it does this instead. So if there are specific comments that lead us to a better project outcome, so instead of saying no because, say yes, we can do this if these things are taken into consideration. So specific modifications that could make the project better, that's what I'm looking for in the public engagement process in general. And then third, and I've been consistent on this, and one of my friends in the audience can attest to this, to the extent that we can talk to developers, because you make a really important point again, distinguishing between the utilities and the merchant developers. I tell the merchant developers at every opportunity, get out into these communities, build trust, listen, have a presence, proactively communicate, because usually by the time these get to us, especially on the merchant front, they've had years to lay the groundwork, and you can tell from the record if they've done a good job on that front or if they've done a bad job. And I'm sorry, it sounds like your experience with that has been negative. We do have a strong consumer affairs division within the PSC that can help kind of deal with these issues either separately or as they're occurring. So if there are specific things that we can help with on that front, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. But all great points, and I hope that these things continue to be addressed to the betterment of these projects that we're seeing, because they're happening. We just need to make sure that they're conditioned with things that make them better. No. I would, no. I mean, again, questioning my life's choices sometimes, but there are dockets where I read all 750 public comments that have been submitted on CPCN application. So no, I do not believe that at all. I would never say that, and I don't think that. And for the extent that I know the process of my fellow commissioners, they would not do that either or feel that way either. It's important to us.
Okay, so let me.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for your question. So and that leads to a couple questions on my mind. So, the power isn't just in the utilities anymore, and I think that's confusing to people. But also, other people think that that's a good thing, that we should have more competition in the arena. So here's an example where you made a distinction between the utilities and then merchant power. So what's in place in the law to sort that out, or is it a confusing set of affairs? It seems to be confusing to me, but anyway, I'm easily confused.
Okay. I want to be careful, but not because of anything before us, just because my construction background has, okay, Representative Wicke probably attest to this. When I got to the commission and learned that there were merchant development projects coming before us, my first question to our general counsel was, how is this not a workaround? How are they not circumventing parts of the statute, which we've had developers try to do with state projects on the building commission, which is why I'm bringing Representative Wicke into this. And so we went round and round about utility applications and utilities developing these things versus merchants. So first of all, it is allowed, it is legal. I've read the statutes, I've read opinions, all these things. So it is an option. I think we should view it as a positive because it does give us more opportunities for flexibility, co-ownership, power purchase agreements, things like that. So, and it brings, again, we have tried on these merchant plants to ensure that they are bringing economic development into these communities, creating good relationships with the landowners and non-participating landowners, and also using in-state labor. So that's one thing that the commission has done recently, that we, as far as we can go, to ensure that that the people that are being affected by these projects are also being able to benefit from these projects. So sometimes the developers have community benefit plans where they can like make donations to things and work on things. Sometimes, we want them to use skilled Wisconsin trades to build these projects. And so to the extent that we can't require it, but to the extent that we can strongly encourage it, we have. Yes, so it is what it is. I think it's okay. It's bringing more. I think the utilities only have certain capacities, right? Like if we didn't allow merchant development, there would be a lot less renewable development occurring in the state. So it's here to stay.
It's like harnessing. How do you harness it?
Yeah, and how do you take what they're doing and make sure that make it better? I see the role of the commission in that review is, if we're going to approve this project, how do we make it the mission environmentally responsible, adding to reliability and resource adequacy, affordable? Like, do we actually, is there, the needs analysis, the modeling analysis, do we need this? What benefits is it bringing to the system? Things like that. And that's part of the PSC's purview and role in reviewing these things, whether it's utility or merchant-based.
Okay, so we're a highly litigious society, and you've made a lot of references to lawsuits. It seems to me that could there be another dispute resolution system set up for some of these, things that really could prevent Wisconsin from meeting the overall goal that you stated at the beginning? I mean, it seems like a lot of this is hung up in the courts. I'm not judging whether there should be a lawsuit filed. I'm just saying the effect of a lawsuit is to slow things down.
Yes.
So could there be another dispute resolution system other than the courts?
It's an interesting question. There could be. Obviously, that would take significant law changes to create an alternative dispute resolution to the court system. I think on certain projects, sometimes one of the first legal questions that's either asked, or like what the parties are pursuing in the courts, is to either stop work or to continue work while it's going through litigation. And so for some of these crucial, important projects where the timelines are tight, we know that we need this. I will say, again, construction background, the longer a project takes, the more expensive it's going to be. Scope creep, budget creep, schedule creep, it's all going to cost more at the end of the day. So what are we really doing when we slow these projects down and go through 10 years of litigation? We're not making it better. And I think a lot of times for some of these projects, we've seen that at that stage in the judicial process, they've been allowed to continue while those specific aspects are being litigated. So instead of having, stop work orders and TROs and any of those things, the work continues while the litigation continues. So it's not great. We have, I think, 15 pending cases right now, 9 in circuit, 6 in appeals. Like, we get sued all the time. Make no mistake, like, there's no shortage of litigious issues related to PSC decisions. And again, it's part of the intersections of the 3 branches of government, but it's definitely unfortunate for some of these projects.
Okay, are you allowed to talk about right of first refusal?
A little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you can ask away.
Okay, so I'm asking this for all the people in the room who are involved. I think everybody here was involved in the right of first refusal, right? Okay, people on both sides here. So do you as chair have a position? Does the PSC have a position on right of first refusal?
The PSC did not take a position on the bill.
Why not?
That's a great question.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Roper. So, as Jeff said, most lobbied on bill last session. I think every contract lobbyist worth their salt or not was registered in favor or in opposition. And it made for some really sensible strategic partnerships and stakeholder groups, and some really strange bedfellows, to be honest. It's hard for me personally because it does bring forth a confluence of familiar issues, whether it's construction or PSC related. Safety, reliability, affordability, skilled workforce, and scope, schedule, and budget controls. I mean, both sides of this issue argued opposite positions on all of those things. And it's, personally, it's hard for me to not have strong feelings about that issue given where I came from. But we did not take a position because ultimately the right of whether or not to grant transmission owners the right of first refusal is a policy decision that's best left to the legislature. The PSC works within its existing, like I said, statutory framework and administrative rules, especially in regards to transmission, permitting, and construction. So if and when changes are made at the legislative level, then we would adjust those processes accordingly. But, I was consistent on this during my confirmation process in the Senate. There are distinct roles of the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And the legislative branch, these people run for office, their names are on the ballot, they make these decisions to make policy through laws and administrative rules. That's not what we do at the commission. And if we do, we usually get sued, or even the perception of trying to do it. So I think just super quickly, transmission, we cannot have this green energy transition without transmission. It's an essential piece. Our infrastructure is aging. Transmission infrastructure needs modernization. We need grid modernization. We need grid expansion. We need the internet connection queue to get going at the regional transmission level. We need the seams to talk together. So between, we're in MISO, PJM, at the Southern Power Pool, SPP. We got to make sure that we're coordinating so that things aren't getting stuck along those seams. Because again, if we're generating this power and storing the power and want to dispatch it then from the battery systems, it needs to be able to move across state lines. This is a national issue. This is a long-term, we have LRTPs going on in terms of where these lines need to go and how to get this power to where it's needed. So I feel very strongly about transmission. We did not take a position on ROFR. But I'm sure it's going to be back next session. So stay tuned and get your popcorn out.
So you get to refine the position, the non-position. Okay. So now, before you have a lot of applause for our guests, I have to thank sponsors and everything again. I want to thank, I neglected Wisconsin Eye and the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance for providing the video. And then everybody here can parse the commission chair's words by doing the video over and over again.
It's going to live forever.
Okay, and then I want to thank our sponsors, of course, Walmart, ARP Wisconsin, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Xcel Energy, American Family Insurance, and Hush Blackwell Strategies. And thank you, Commission Chair Strand. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
As the state's leading property and casualty insurance trade association, the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance plays a crucial role in safeguarding Wisconsinites. Alliance members provide vital insurance coverage, ensuring financial protection for individuals, businesses, and communities across the state. In times of need, they act as a reliable resource, helping residents recover from unforeseen events. Ultimately, the Wisconsin Insurance Alliance and its members contribute to the resilience and well-being of Wisconsin families and businesses by offering essential protection and support. You have been watching a production of Wisconsin Eye, your unfiltered window into legislative deliberations and public policy programming, where our mission is to provide Wisconsinites an opportunity to access the legislative process and connect with conversations that inform our citizenry. Please consider supporting our mission, and thank you for watching. Wisconsin Eye, policy made public.